GM Adrian.
Hi, Prof.
It's Monday. We're back. Did you have a nice weekend?
I had a lovely weekend. I did. Did you?
Yeah, it was very chill. I went and got a massage and I was all kinds of happy. So I'm very chilled out. But I do have one question and you can answer me when we get back from our 40-second break. But my question is, has it verve? We'll answer that question in 40 seconds. Welcome to GM Farcaster, bringing you everything from breaking news to spicy memes to the deep lore shaping this vibrant digital community. More than just a show, GM Farcaster is your digital third space where the community connects, the stories unfold, and the culture thrives. Whether you're a daily caster or just dropping by, we've got the latest buzz to keep you plugged in. So grab your coffee and let's dive in with your hosts, Nanish Prof and Adrian, for another episode of GM Farcaster. So, has it verve? Did you watch in other words, did you watch the season finale?
I watched it last night and I'm very upset. We do not have a department of choreography and merriment on Farcaster.
That was almost my background today. Instead, I just went a little bit, straight up.
I've been so lazy.
Macro data.
I've been so lazy with my backgrounds. I don't know if you've noticed. But
I was going to put him, but I felt like I was going to put him, Mr. Drummond there, but I felt like that was just too much.
Okay, I nominate Miriam to lead the department of
choreography and merriment.
Absolutely,
absolutely. You are now that department, Miriam. This was funny. I responded to this and completely because it was just this is my new response to things. Gabriel Oeso, sometimes one chooses violence. Severance he was responding to Vocal Cry. I think this is on Twitter. Severance is a 105 IQ person's idea of a 130 IQ show. And then Gabriel said being contrarian is a 105 IQ person's attempt at being like a 130 IQ person. And then Woj said something else. And I'm like, I can't. but really, it all comes down to, has it verve? And it does. It has verve. I think Farcaster has verve, but we want to keep it alive. And this was so funny from Maneri. This is an IKEA ad. A brilliant IKEA ad. Brilliant. I saw
great ad, but does it make you want to buy any of that furniture?
I mean, not me personally, but I did see somebody respond underneath saying, why do I suddenly want cubicles in my house? Like, for real? So apparently, yes. I don't know. Like, no, I never want to work in a space like that. I've worked in spaces like that. I don't want to ever work in a space like that again. But that's kind of the point,
I don't
right?
want to work at Lumen. I mean, I don't even mind cubicles. I just Lumen, I don't know.
No. Well, that's a good point. Like, would you ever want to have an opportunity to completely lose your memories? Even the bad ones?
Of course not.
Yeah, not for me. But however, there are things like EMDR therapy, which can be very helpful for those PTSD things that you really don't want to relive.
I mean, yeah, I do a lot of mindfulness meditation, yoga, and I like to train my brain to be able to release things. But just the concept of actual severance, no.
Yeah, no desire for that. No need. I like to have my work life and my life. I kind of compartmentalize things, but not in a completely crazy way.
You're saying in a healthy way.
In a healthy way. Boundaries, people. Healthy boundaries. Anyway. In other news that disturbed me this morning, I found the lack of faith disturbing. There are people on Farcaster who haven't seen Star Wars. I am disturbed by this fact. Adrian, please tell me you've seen at least the first 3 Star Wars, episodes 4, 5, and 6. I'm
the worst person for you to talk about movies. Okay, I have seen Star Wars.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm not I'm not like a Star Wars freak. I don't love all things Star Wars.
Would you do me a quick favor and just text me, really fast? Just text me anything, just really quick.
Me?
Yes, right now.
Why?
You just do it. Just do it. I just need you to do that really, really quickly. Just anything, doesn't matter.
Sure.
Did you hear that? That's my text tone, people. That would be R2D2. It's been my text tone for, I don't know, decade and a half or something. So I kind of take this to the next level, but this is in response to.
This is literally someone who was not alive when Star Wars came out. So it's like,
I understand. Fine. This was in response to Naomi's list of movies and shows she still hasn't watched. Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, The Matrix, Jurassic Park, and Star Wars. And I just had the biggest issue with the Star Wars one. I also had an issue with 6. Same for all of these except for Game of Thrones. 6. I expected more of you. I just did. I don't know why. I mean, Naomi's from Great Britain. Maybe it wasn't a thing. I don't know. No, but
Naomi's like on the track training, and
she's got excuses.
She's clearly doing better things. 6. Excuse.
What's your excuse? Like what? And also, I realize some of you are very young, so I don't necessarily blame you, but I do blame your parents. I'm just going to say it. There's something wrong there. So my child has seen all of them.
Please tell me you didn't watch Game of Thrones with your child, though.
No.
Okay.
No. Let me rephrase that. My child has seen all the Star Wars movies. Not all of them.
I've been watching Matrix with my kids. That was a fun one recently.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Game of Thrones, I want them to watch. I just don't know if I need to watch it with them.
No, that's later when they get older. Yeah.
Oh, I went to see a stand-up comedian on Friday night.
Oh yeah. How was that?
Great. Whitney Cummings, 10 out of 10. Excellent stand-up. She's like just a really good stand-up. So good. But the opening act was talking about watching movies with your parents, and his joke was like, why is it that every time you watch a movie with a parent, like it turns into a porno within the first 30 seconds? Like there's just oats.
I've done that before too, when I've watched something and I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have. This was unnecessary to be here with mom. Yeah, so I'm not saying like, yeah, just Star Wars is family friendly and you should watch it with your children. Like, hello, there are Disney rides.
Here's the problem though, right? So like if you actually rewatch it's like it was the first of its kind. It's telling this epic story of good versus evil. Okay. But then so many other movies came out afterwards and they copy Star Wars, but then they make certain things better.
Sure.
So I think for kids,
I get it.
Kids like Naomi, like adults.
Yeah, kids in their 30s.
The kids in their 30s, when they go to watch like the original Star Wars, like it's not good.
I get that. No, I get the special, but you have to understand that at that time it was groundbreaking. So it's like watching a black and white movie. It's like watching Casablanca. Or, like the sets are ridiculous, you know what I mean? Or Gone with the Wind. Like, no, the special effects aren't great. They were amazing for that moment in time, but also you should watch them.
Okay, I agree.
Anyway, moving
Maybe
on.
a FarCon side event. We'll watch some classic movies.
Oh my God, that would be really fun. I would enjoy that. But yeah, I was a little put off by that. Okay, back to like actual Farcaster news, but this was just things I saw on my feed this morning that bothered me. Now we'll move on to other things. Little rant for the morning. This from Brad Q, 29 Seconds of Farcaster. What did you miss this weekend? Drop your answer, no cheating. It was quiet. Let's call it a crypto the game hangover. Plus Dan was either skiing or trying to increase QDAO for snow. Dan did drop some really beautiful photos in snow. So go check that out if you like that sort of thing. I hate snow. But the mountains were pretty. Bracky was not quiet with March Madness and an airdrop. Some funny moments with Bracky's saltiness and occasional hallucinations, but you can clearly see where Bracky is headed. TLDR and Bracky up. Farcaster airdrops are coming for this week, which will be interesting. Reminder to verify a Solana wallet. There's been no specific. There's definitely a Solana drop, but there's been just inklings, right? I don't know. Anyway. Interesting. Yasik dropped a new degen liquidity pool with Beefy. Garrett revealed mechanics for upcoming higher arrows, a Farcaster and higher spin on Jack Butcher's checks, and people continue to explore Woj ETH's dream feature of Farcaster earnings. In exciting news, Bert Mamups graduated puppy school. That was like the best news. And celebrated with his first pup cup. headed for top 10 rewards, by the way. And then a little shout out to us and Phil as our guest, who is coming later. Hey, Bert, congratulations. Dr. Bert, I believe it is now, PhD. So great job, Bert. And yeah, and he met a couple other puppies on the timeline over the past couple days as well. This in actual Farcaster news, first Snapchain block officially mined. We'll be spending the next week backfilling all data to Snapchain before it's ready to be used. So we mentioned this last week. If you're running a hub, you need to go just look at V's posts about moving to Snapchain from hubs, is what I will say, because it's way too technical for me to elaborate. But it's important. And then this from Deodad, what we're working on to make frames better right now. Rebranding from frames to mini apps. We'll discuss that in a moment. A new LLM-friendly standalone doc site. Rethinking developer tooling from the ground up. A 1.0 of the frames SDK with improvements to type safety, error handling, security, and hooks for better debugging. I'm just saying words at this point. So Adrian, please jump in on that part. What does that mean?
The Frames SDK, it's just like a library that other developers can use for shortcuts. And they've added type safety, error handling, security, and hooks for better debugging. I mean,
New APIs for viewing and swapping tokens, composing casts, and continued improvement to explore and rewards. I just don't know what these things are. So, but they sound important and needed and necessary.
Listen, the takeaway is Merkel's wanting to make it easier and better and faster and quicker and better experience for devs to create more frames.
That's the important part. Yes, for sure. And also, we got to talk about the name of things. So this was funny. Kojo put a poll out, and it said, what should Frames v2 be renamed? And mini apps won. FAPs was the other option that came in second. Faplets and apps. And he said FAPs came dangerously close. My quote cast was, can we just know? We need to let this go.
Did you know? Did you know what meant in slang? Oh,
yes. I've known the whole time, and I keep trying to direct people away from this word, and nobody was listening. So I finally had to go, look.
The 50-some people who chose that in the Ponder poll. And was that a poll or was that a prediction poll?
I think it was a prediction. But also there were many. So there were some people who were like, oh, I got to get that off the screen. Also, frap, fine. This is lovely, by the way. East Doge G.eth. I still don't know how to say your name. Estoj. This is great. I love this look. But there's some people who are like, no, that's the joke. And I'm like, a lot of people aren't getting the joke.
I didn't get the joke.
This is what I'm saying.
Thank you for explaining it to me. Thank you, GM Farcaster.
This is exactly what I'm saying. So please let go of FAP. We're not calling it that. FRAP is fine. But also, how about just mini app and we can all just move on?
Yeah, it's like not everyone is an English
exactly.
native. So
exactly.
That means nothing. Not everyone is a teenage boy on the internet or is perpetually online and understands slang either. So
right. Or listens to various, or listens to rap and hip hop. I mean, like, I get it. I get not everybody knows this, but I'm like, okay, it's time. It's time to like understand that this is not a good idea. Also, I think the idea of renaming it was so that people outside of our ecosystem would have a better idea as to what a frame was. That doesn't help. It does not help at all. Frankly, neither does frap, but if we want to call it that internally, fine. But like, we have, I mean, poor Linda. You want Linda to go out there selling that? Come on. She can't sell that. She could sell mini apps. Come on, people. It was a lot. This from V. A few counterintuitive things we've learned building FC. I really liked this. Make people sign up on mobile. Push notifications and little red dots on the home screen are the lifeblood of social apps. Most users sign up on web will simply forget to come back. So they did start building on web first before doing the mobile app. So and Dan has said many times, I wish they had started mobile first. And I think they've said 80%-ish use mobile. I think something like that. Do you use mobile or web more primarily now? Or is it a good split?
I'm primarily mobile.
Yeah, same.
But I have it when I'm at my desk and I'm working, I have it open in web.
Yeah. Obviously, I use web as well, but
I mean, I used to get on Dan all the time because they would claim everyone's using mobile. That's why we have to prioritize mobile. And one of the reasons I didn't use desktop is because there was latency. It wouldn't work as well. So I was kind of like forced to use mobile because it was better. So it became a little bit of a cycle, self-fulfilling prophecy. Like you
I
made
think I
mobile
use,
better.
yeah, I use both. I really do. But when I'm playing games and stuff, I use my phone, obviously.
Wait, but
like
he's also
mostly for
right. Like
games.
it's a social app. It's a consumer
Yeah,
app. Where am I doing it? Like when I'm waiting in line I don't
right.
really wait in line anywhere.
Wherever. But
At the
if
bank?
I
I'm like, I
were,
don't even go to I was gonna say
if
the
I
bank.
was
I'm
at
like, I
the
don't go to
bank waiting
I
in
don't go to the
line.
bank. I literally don't go to the bank. So I didn't know what to say when I'm waiting in line to get a coffee. I don't know.
I don't know. I usually order ahead. In my car in the drive-through waiting. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, at the red
Anyway,
light when I'm not supposed to have my phone out, you mean?
things like that. Don't do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on. Make your homepage a sign-up screen, not a feed preview, which I think that was interesting. 3, don't be afraid of longer onboarding if it leads to better retention. When a user commits to signing up, they're much more likely to complete onboarding steps. Interesting. 4, following feeds are bad. What do you think about that? And this goes to everyone thinks they want a following feed, but even the people who ask for it churn faster when they get it. Do you use the following feed or are you more of a home feed person?
No, I'm a home feed.
Same. And trending. And I will die on that hill. I will die on the trending hill.
Love the trending, love algorithms. I'm lazy.
Yeah. Feed me.
There was a time when the network was tiny and all we had was a following feed, and it was great
Right.
because
And it was fine.
there just wasn't enough content. So you could
Exactly.
very quickly scroll through, see everything that anyone said in a given day. It was great. That's not where we are now. Following feed is
Is the place. Yeah, for sure.
home feed.
Home feed. Home feed is the one. Following feed, just not enough content, or too much content, depending on how many people you're following. Phil is in our green room. We're going to go through just a couple more things, and then we're going to bring him on up and talk about amps. So this from DWR looks like we have 3 airdrops scheduled in the next 10 days, and at least 5 more projects in early discussions. Reminder: if you're a developer, please reach out to Linda. And if you want to improve your chances for having a developer offer you an airdrop, see the advice below. Use frames, cast a lot, etc., etc. In other words, just do the things, transact on chain. I want to say a couple notes for FarCon New York. Farc Candles 2 are now live. Get the bigger, brighter, and bullish Farc candle. It comes with exclusive event access to late night with humankind for only the first 60 contributors at FarCon. I will be buying the candle. Late night, we'll see. Late night, I'm likely going to not.
Does late night start at 8:00?
Yeah. What time? What do you consider late? It's what I'd like to understand. We may have difference of opinions. This from Humpty, who's going to FarCon in May and wants to attend an exclusive creator event that I'm hosting. If you are a creator, please reach out to Humpty. You are going to want to be there. I have some notes from him as to what he has going on, and it's going to be really good. So it's going to be happening the same day as Builders Day. So if you're a creator, you're not a dev, you're going to be in town, go jump and talk to Humpty. And then we just set up a Nouns Bounty channel. So for Nouners, for the bounty that we did with GM Farcaster, the sponsorship as well for the summit, and then the bounty for Builders Day. There's a channel now, so little Nouners and Nouners will be able to vote on that bounty when it happens. Couple other quick things. Adrienne wrote her 50th Substack. If you're not reading Adrienne's Substacks, like, what are you doing with your life? You really should be. They are good. This from Linda, which I loved. First few weeks on Farcaster team has been intense, but I love it. It's super fulfilling getting to work on a product I've loved as a user and a builder for so long, but also one I truly feel helps push the crypto space forward with an incredible team and community. Love that. This I'm going to say really quick. This was amazing. We're not going to show it, but this is your video that you put together when we were at East Denver, showing everybody's favorite channels. And this was my favorite, was Amin, San Diego, and pro wrestling. Okay. Yeah. Did not see that one coming. So that was funny. Go check that out. There was one more thing. I'm trying to find it. Oh, there's two more things. Found out from this is from Matthew Fox, found out from my mother today that my mother is stalking my Warpcast profile. Hi, Mom. She doesn't have an account yet, just checks in while logged out. Gonna fix that. So go say hi to Matthew Fox's mom, who is trolling his account. I saw a lot of these going out, and I felt like it needed your notes. This was from Xcopy, who we love. I thought I was late to FC, and 98.4% of users joined after me, framed by cashlessman.eth. Every once in a while, these start going around again.
It's so funny when they do, right? Like,
yep.
Where does it come from? And then everyone has to share like the frame and talk about when they joined Farcaster. I love it.
And you're still early. You're still early was my point. And also, one more point. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. If you're here, you're early. Like everybody is early on Farcaster, but also your FID is not your worth. When you joined Farcaster is not your worth. Don't worry about trying to compare yourself to people who are here earlier than you.
And also just always know Linda was here before you, period, full stop. 100%, literally 100%.
She has like a single digit FID, and
I think she's 12 or something like that.
Ooh,
if I remember correctly.
Linda, what were you doing?
Yeah, Linda was like 12, I think, if I remember checking. Let's check, shall we? Yeah, 12.
Yeah.
She's 12. So there you go. You'll never be earlier than Linda unless you are Jacob. Jacob is 8. Why do I know these things? Lord knows. One last thing. We're going to be doing a little, hey, I have something to tell you, Adrian, by the way. Rachel W. has sent me 50 million good tokens that we are going to be distributing in 2 ways. One, to our lovely chatters who we love so much. So if you are contributing good comments and questions, especially when we have Phil up here on the stage, we're going to be sending you some good token into your Warplet. And also, if you mint any of the episodes from now through when Rachel's going to be on next Wednesday, she'll be filling in for Adrian as my co-host. So now through then, each of those episodes will be dropping some rewards for minting our podcast on pods.media. So there you go. And that is it. That's enough of that. Should we bring up Phil? Are you ready?
Yes.
Anything else before we bring up Phil? All right, here we
go. Time for amps.
Time for amps. Let's go. GM.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for the green room. You guys have champagne in there. No one told me that.
We do. Yeah, I know. It's very special. It's virtual champagne. We got a little fruit plate for you. We know you're healthy.
Be nice to us.
What's your FID? I forget.
Yours is really low. This game?
Just curious.
God, I love when people ask this. 129.
I knew it was really low. I just couldn't remember how low.
It was a funny story. Someone came into the Bright Moments Gallery in Venice when we first started minting crypto Venetians and was like, hey, there's a startup down the street on Abbot Kinney, and it's like a new crypto social network. But just to let you know, it's pretty sketchy. You have to like download a DMG file and put it on your computer. I was like, yeah, sure. Sounds fine. Never met the guy. No problem. And so,
and that's why we love you. Sure, that sounds great.
That's the worst that could happen. Pretty sure Dan still has all my keystrokes for like the last 4 years. So
that's hilarious. That's really funny because I knew you were like super, super early. I don't think I realized that early. I knew you were like triple digit somewhere.
Yeah, the Venice cabal.
The Venice cabal. The Venice cabal. That's probably why, and that's why Ted's like 239 or something like that. So
and now I have serious Venice FOMO. And now that Waj is there and it's just like living his best life in Los Angeles, I feel just incredible FOMO every weekend when they're like going on hikes and stuff. So,
but he's posting pictures of the highway. I was like, he's like, I love America. I'm like, that's the highway. Like nobody loves that.
We moved out to the Bay Area, my wife and I, a couple months ago. And so Like, it's one of those things where when you're in Venice, you're like, it's kind of grimy here. And like, and then you leave and you like romanticize it. So
yeah, I loved it there. I loved it there for FarCon. I ended up going back to for Nounstown. I stayed there even though it was like really far away from almost every event because I'm like, I really like it in this area. It's really nice.
Yeah. It's sort of like living next to an amusement park. Like everyone comes and loves it. And then you're the one that has to like listen to the ride every day. So
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Before we jump into amps though, that was one of the things I wanted to ask was like sort of how did you end up on Farcaster? So you answered that. But also, can you talk a little bit about your Web3 sort of journey? Like, how did you end up? How did Bright Moments come about? How did you end up in Web3?
Sure. When was it? Maybe 2017. My friend and I were playing around with Ethereum, and we decided to start an Ethereum mining company out of Texas, just because the power was cheaper there. And so we ran that company for a few years, just as like a way to learn about Ethereum, to run a node, do a little bit of mining before it switched to proof of stake. And shortly before the pandemic, the mining devices don't have that long of a life. They sort of burn out because you just run them all the time. And so it got shipped back to where I was living in Los Angeles, and I had it at home for about one day, and it's so loud. And my wife at the time, she was like, get this out of that. My girlfriend at the time, my wife, she was like, get this thing out of the house. Every time you plug it in, it sounds like a buzzsaw is going. So I took it to a local like hardware hacking warehouse place. And so I would go there to like tinker with it and work on it. And I met Seth, who had just moved to the area and was, talking to different people that were sort of in crypto and mentioning that he had this idea for an NFT gallery. And so I kind of thought like, interesting guy, but I meet a lot of like sort of crazy people in Venice with like vague ambitions. And actually the next day in Fred Wilson's newsletter, he sent a newsletter about Seth. He was like, hey, one of my longtime friends is, minting NFTs on Foundation, and here's his project. And I said, okay, this isn't a coincidence. Like, I met this guy yesterday. I've been following Fred for years, and he just mentioned it. So like, let me actually go reach out. So I bought one of Seth's NFTs on Foundation. It was like a GAN model of the sunset that photos he'd been taken. And we started talking, and he said, hey, I'm about to get keys to this gallery on Windward. You should come and let's talk about it. Like, it's happening. And so I showed up, and the energy was just totally infectious. And sort of that group evolved and grew into Bright Moments. And we started putting on shows for artists on Thursday nights, and just caught a wave perfectly of, people being really excited about NFTs, artists finding new ways to make money. And that eventually sort of catapulted.
That was perfect timing. Great timing.
Into this idea of doing this 10-city journey around the world. And, one of the, NFTs, there was a lot of good and bad, but one of the good things about that entire sort of wave was this idea that NFT projects are projects. You sort of didn't have to write a white paper and describe how you were going to change the future. It was like, hey, here's an idea we have. Let's sell NFTs and go execute on the idea. And so the roadmap that we came up with was a 3-year journey around the world to create art with people from all these different places. And we finished that journey in 2024. And since then have been working on some cool new things. Amps is one of them, but that's sort of the abridged version of a very sort of wild couple years. Yeah.
Amazing. That was amazing. Yeah. You went Venice to Venice. So you ended in Venice, Italy.
Yeah, that's right.
Incredible.
Yep. And then this summer, it was sort of a little bit of a come down. It was sort of like, we finished this crate. We'd been sprinting as fast as we could for a couple of years. And so, we took the summer to regroup and moved to Rome for a little bit, sort of like try to see if Europe would feel good. I am not wired for Europe. I just am way too like type A to like relax and do that. And so
I could see that.
Yeah. It was,
not
it's just
wired
like
for Europe is a great description.
Great for vacation, but after about a week and a half, I was like losing my mind. I was like, how does anyone get anything done here? And the answer is, well, they don't really. It's a great lifestyle, but
it's a great for retirement someday. There you go.
Exactly.
But I love that. I really love NFT art. I love digital art. I love art in general, but I love digital art. I think it makes it much more accessible for more people to collect.
Yeah.
So and just more like I'd say probably half of the NFTs I have are art of some form. I have zero expectation of them ever going up in value. I collected it because I liked it, whatever it was, all these different things. I have a ton of timepieces, for example. Like I have almost a full collection, and I love all of them, and I loved the artists who did it, and it was such a amazing moment in time. And I feel like that's kind of gotten lost, and it makes me a little sad that I kind of miss that that vibe. So thank you for all you did in that moment to like bring forth some amazing artists who really.
Thank you. I agree with the sentiment. I can't talk about it today, but I can talk about it in 3 days. There's a pretty exciting announcement coming up later this week. And so all I will say is I think a lot of people have sort of given up on NFTs as the way to represent digital art. And I'm either crazy or right, but we haven't quite given up yet. So we have a pretty exciting something to share on Thursday. So maybe we can come back and talk about that at a separate time.
My first thought was why not both, but yeah, crazy and right is always good too.
Right, exactly.
That's exciting. That's exciting. I'll be looking for that because that's just something that I feel like is missing right now that I enjoyed. So I'm down to collect more art. And to do a much better job of displaying it. And I know you did some things with view.art for a bit there. And I've been very bad about getting my stuff set up, but I need to do that so
it's
that
hard.
I can enjoy it.
I know your background is virtual, but it looks like you're in an office. Like it looks like that's where you live. And I'm like, girl, you need some art. Like,
I need some art. I totally need some art. Yeah, I have so much.
You too. Art. Like, where's the art in your background?
It's at a framer right now. We can do a quick show and tell. Hold on.
Ooh, this is exciting.
So this is a great piece. This is called Folio.
Oh, wow.
This is by an artist named Matt Delorier, and you can't. The video doesn't really do it justice. This collection was minted in London in July of 2022. Matt is an amazing artist who's actually making a documentary about generative art, and he just fundraised for it through an NFT project called Bitforms. Matt's like a generational talent. If you don't know his stuff, you should totally check it out. His project Meridian is on one of the Block's Playground project, and is whenever people are like, what's digital art? Is it just monkey pictures? I show them Meridian because it's like this amazing, amazing project that so many people are like, oh wow, it creates all sorts of questions. How do you create it with a computer? How does it work? And then there's another piece right here, which is on the wall that I won't pull down, which is called 100 print. And this collection was selected through a draft pick. So it was like, strong Goldie energy. It was like, we put all 100 pieces on the wall, and you purchased a draft pick ticket numbered 1 through 100. And depending on what number you had, you got to choose which one was left on the wall. And so I think I was like number 19, and I was so nervous because like I knew the one that I wanted, but like, number 9 went, number 10 went, number 11 went, and I was like making side deals with people. I spent so much time with them, and so that was a really fun way to have people engage with the collection.
That's really cool. I love that. That's very cool. I love some of the creativity that we saw, like with art, with digital art, like Sam Spratt and Monument Game, and just different things that Beeple's done over the years. And I love Fidenza, and I loved QQ. The QQ one that he did also was really, really fun. And that's the stuff I talk about also in class when we get to NFTs, as I really dive into generative art and just kind of talking a little bit about that, because I still think there's so much value there that I don't want to get lost along the way. So
maybe we should organize a field trip out to San Francisco when the time comes. We'll have something to share. So.
Oh, very cool. This is very exciting. All right, moving on. We got to move on to Amps, but I could talk about this stuff all day. So Amps launched not that long ago. So how long was this in development?
Started working on the idea over Christmas. It was the holidays, and sort of the original background for it was there was a lot of experiments at that time around like Anoncast and Supercast, and like people basically using these accounts to get distribution for ideas that they had. And I looked at it and thought like, that's interesting. Like, people are using these to get distribution because they don't have an account that has a lot of followers, but they have a message they want to get out. And so these pseudonymous accounts have a lot of followers, and so people are using them. And I thought, well, that's kind of a hacky way to do it. Like, you wouldn't announce a project through Pseudocast or through Anoncast or Supercast, but like, what if there was a way to sort of get your message out to other people? And that sort of led to the spark of this idea of, well, hey, there's these building blocks. The social graph is open. The Warplet wasn't quite out at the time, but like these sort of micro transactions had just become possible with Base, and sort of all peanut butter and jellied. And we worked on it on and off, Jeff and I, for probably about 4 weeks to get it to a point where we felt as though it was ready to launch. And like the core of the app was done in a couple of days, but then the rest of it was the polish around it, making sure that like the signer flow felt good, making sure that it was something that people trusted. And then we've been rolling out the ability to purchase engagement to like a very select group of people. I think there's like 150 or 175 people who have the ability. So we're sort of trying to learn as we go, but that's the origin story.
How do you become one of those people if you want to actually buy the recasts or the likes?
Yeah, every once in a while I'll put out like a public thread, or you can just DM me. My DMs are sort of a mess because of the books channel. So like if I don't respond, it's not personal. It's just like I don't see them all. And normally what I'll do if someone asks is I'll go and I'll look at your profile, and like generally if your profile has some amount of original content on it that's not shilling things, I'll add you to the early access group. Like at this point, I'm really looking for founders. I'm looking for artists and creatives. I'm looking for people who do marketing is really the core customer. And you should have a budget to spend on getting your message out there. And like maybe just backing up a little bit, like the idea.
Let's talk about what it is. Yeah.
For those who aren't familiar. So it's a two-sided marketplace that allows users to buy and sell different types of engagement, right? So you can think about all these different actions you can take on Farcaster. You can reply to things, you can like things, you can recast things. And all of those are valuable because it shares a message to your network, to the people that follow you. And what we've done with Amps is we've allowed you to set a price on that and then set a number, a certain set of people who can pay that price to get distribution through your network, right? So if you think about it like a two-sided marketplace, like Uber, there's demand and there's supply. The demand are people who have a message and they're willing to pay to get it out. And the supply are people who have a following and want to, get paid for that distribution they've built in a way that's recurring and not zero sum. And on the supply side, a lot of people have tried to help creators earn, but there's a couple of problems. One, it's pretty hard to make money off a following. You have to like sell a product. People who are really good at casting or tweeting like aren't necessarily business or product people. They don't want to sell like a packaged good. They don't want to like have a website. They just want to like do what they're doing and earn from it. And then the other way to make money if you have a big following is to like launch a coin, and like that works once. And then no one ever buys anything from you ever again. And so it's like, okay, there's not really a great solution here. And so basically as someone with a following, doesn't have to be big. It just has to be passionate. You can register for Amps. And if somebody decides that they want to get the message out to your followers, they can pay you your fee. You earn, essentially passive income.
Yeah. And it's been, so I didn't even realize I clicked join the wait list and that was it. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't realize like I was accepted or anything. And all of a sudden I just started getting notifications of like, you just earned $3. And I was like, what? Huh? What? Yes. What is this? Yeah. And that's how I figured out what was going on. I'm like, oh, it launched. Mm-hmm. And then I was like clicking. What I appreciated, this I think was a iteration, if I remember correctly, is that you could click on the notification. You can see what that cast was. Yes. So that if it was something shady, you could, make some adjustments. Exactly. Pretty much half of mine are probably Warpcast admin anyway, and it's fine.
we should talk about that.
Farcaster admin. Yeah. Phil, you just realized like one of the first things when as a user, like if you're paying for Amps and you're choosing who you want to, let's say, recast for you, you're kind of showing number of followers, right? It's like, listen, like here's the price you get, here's the number of followers. I just totally realized when you're talking about kind of like these niche audiences and things like in the future, just being like, here, if you want to reach the audience that's active in, you know, like whatever, CPG or books or travel or this, then, and like variable pricing, or you can, it's not necessarily just more followers, which, you know, which are all bots anyway, we know are good.
Totally. No,
that's really interesting.
For sure. There's always 3 versions of a product, right? And so I sort of have to remind myself, okay, so there's like the sort of nebulous long-term vision of the product that like, you know what it could be, you imagine it really big at scale, it's beautiful, everything works, it's amazing. That's like the far off version. That's what it starts with. And then there's the version of things that you've actually like sat down and designed and thought of. And then there's what actually exists. And so like what you're describing is something that's in that middle. Like we've sat down, we've designed it, we've thought of it, but it hasn't been a priority to build yet. But like we have a ton of ideas around how you can actually segment people who follow you, who you can recast, you can pay to have them recast by exactly those criteria. Hey, anyone who's earned Warpcast rewards, that probably is a pretty good signal. Hey, if their NANAR score is above the certain amount. Hey, if they're an active member, have a streak in this channel. And then, you know, the amazing thing with a lot of the AI technology is you can actually be really nebulous. You can say like people who, I don't know, post about dogs and like, there's, you know what I mean? Like you can have a pretty good way to
people
target.
who are dogs.
Bert's ready. How about people who are dogs? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Dog.
Right.
There you go.
Only dogs. And so, yeah, it's going to be, I'm really excited because there's people who have, you know, 10 or 15,000 really quality followers. And we want to find a way to elevate them in the rankings. So you know, they get paid more, the message reaches the right people. I think that's going to be the key to unlocking more demand.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because you could be somebody who is like the best caster in travel.
Yes.
And you may have a very small following. So, but you might be the exact person that this person needs to promote whatever it is they're promoting. So
exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's a great product. I think it's really working. It seems to be really working well. You know, obviously there's like concerns. Like I immediately had that concern of like, what if I recast something I don't want to recast?
For sure.
And I liked that you kind of addressed that. So maybe you can address sort of some of those things, or even like what might be coming that isn't even in existence yet.
For sure. So I see, you know, a big part of my job is being a referee. And we have to design the system, but we also have to make sure that the balance doesn't tip in one direction more than the other. So there's supply and demand. On the demand side, as someone buying engagement, I want, you know, I'm like, whatever, you know, 90s Republican. I want no regulation. I want to do whatever I want. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want any restrictions whatsoever. But on the supply side, I want to approve everything I cast. I want to make as much money as possible from it. You know, I want it to be limited to a certain audience. And so like our job is to balance those two, because if you tip towards one side or the other, the system doesn't work for anybody. And so when we launched the product, the first, you know, hypothesis that we had to test was, will people actually sign up on the supply side? Are there actually, you know, a large enough number of people in the network that are highly connected that will give us the permission to take, you know, actions from their account? And we answered that in a few days. You know, we had over 12,000 people sign up within the first 72 hours. And that was like a, oh shit moment. Like, I think this is going to work. And then on the demand side, the question was, will people actually pay for this? And I think we validated that hypothesis as well. We just crossed $10,000 in volume that people have paid to users, right? And so that's real money. That's not like speculative. I'm not buying it because I think I'm going to, you know, have some asset that's going to go up in value. Like, I've spent money to purchase a product, which is distribution. And so both of those things feel really good. Yeah, exactly.
So you did make it past. I wasn't sure. That was my question today.
Yeah,
that's great.
You know, it took just under a month to do it. And so, you know, now it's this teeter totter. So demand was going really well. There was a bunch of people buying amps. And then we started to realize, hey, as this scales, what do we need to put in place so the supply of the network, the people who have given access to their profiles, we can't lose trust. We need to make sure that people still feel really good about doing this. So we put a few things in place. One, only people who you follow, so people whose content you've chosen to see, can buy engagement from you. And that's a pretty good heuristic, but it's not perfect. I might follow people because they're funny and they're sort of abrasive, but it doesn't necessarily mean I want to share their content to my followers. So it's not a perfect measure. The second thing that we did was we put in place like basically a filter. And we have some rules that we've given to an LLM, which is a moderation bot, that says, hey, here's the types of content we're not going to allow. No bullying, no financial scams, no outright grifting, like all of these things where it's like just that, you know,
just don't.
you can say whatever you want on your profile, but you have no right to get, you know, distribution through other people. And that works pretty well. But then there's sometimes it's like, it's like, it doesn't, you know, it passes the filter, but it's still not something you'd want to post about, right? Maybe it's like, hey, I love cigarettes and you're like a never smoker. Okay. You can actually restrict certain people even without following them, but without unfollowing them, and say, hey, this person, like, I think they're funny, but like, I don't want to see any of their content posted from my profile. I'm just going to add them to the restriction list. And so I think those three things together have layered pretty well. And it's not perfect. There's still things that sneak through. There's still things we know we need to fix before we open it to the general public. But I felt pretty good from the reaction that I've seen from people. And the thing that we look for is like, hey, are people deregistering? Are people actually actively delisting their profiles? And that's the key message that we look at to say, is the balance tipping, right? Price is another factor. If people are raising their prices too high, then the network doesn't work. It's not, you know, an efficient market.
Right. Yeah. So that, yeah, I guess that would be good indicators for you. How are you seeing both of those indicators right now? Is it looking?
I think the thing that we still need, you know, my focus right now is on demand. I want to be able to have this product available to the general public. You know, I don't generally like wait lists. They feel sort of not egalitarian, like people get confused. And so I think, you know, I want to make sure that we can continue to drive volume and make sure that people are buying engagement and that people are getting paid for it. And we made a big step last week, which was rolling out likes. So now in addition to recasts, you can purchase likes. And so they serve two different purposes. Recasts are a form of distribution to an audience. Likes are a way to, you know, get engagement on a post, you know, make people look at it.
Get it trending, things like that. Yeah.
But likes are also lower stakes because they don't boost it to your audience in the same way that a recast does. And so they're cheaper. We set a flat price for likes by default. They're 50 cents. And so, you know, my plan is we want to make likes open to the general public, right? So those three restrictions will still apply. You need to follow someone. It needs to pass a filter. You can restrict anyone you want. But I think we can make likes broadly available while we still tinker with recasts, right? So I think that's going to be a priority to get demand. You know,
how do you sign up for that? Because I was trying to figure this out earlier. I know I'm already doing recasts, but how do you get into the likes bin?
Yeah, so
I can't figure. Is that something still manual right now?
If you are on the, you know, early access beta program for the demand side, you have access to the full app. And so you can go in, you can find a cast, you can click the heart button, and you can buy batches of likes. We sell, I think, 5, 10, 25, and 50 or something like that. Okay. And so that's been, you know, something we've been working on, and then just making it easier for people to see, you know, what they're recasting, finding people like that, like giving you like fine grain, because people will buy engagement once, but if they don't see a return on their investment, they won't come back. And so we have to continue to demonstrate value by saying, hey, this can help you reach the right audience. We got a really nice testimonial from, I actually don't know how to say his name out loud.
Antimo. Yeah.
Antimo, right?
Antimo.
Antimo FM.
Yes. Antimo FM. Yeah.
He spent a couple $100 to amp his cast and then signed a client for like a few $1,000s. And so like the return on his investment was like 10 times, which is great. Yeah. And that's the sort of success story that like, hey, this is working. We want to continue to enable these things. And that felt really good. Yeah, that's definitely a good. And then you also are seeing it on the other side with folks who are earning from it, which is fantastic. You know, that's great. So you've got both happening. And that, so it seems to be like, this is a strong MVP, in terms of like the match there and how it's working. And I think like for me, something else that I've noticed is, so if I get a notification that something's been recasted and I've earned, you know, $3 for that recast, I'm going to click on it, see what it is. And then sometimes I take action on it. For sure. And that's happened to me a couple times where I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let me go check this out. So there's a couple, you're not only reaching
my followers, but you might be reaching me specifically because I may not have seen, because my feed is my feed, and sometimes it's overwhelming and I miss things. And you also, just marketing basics, you have to hit somebody 7 times with something before they'll take action. So there you go. Like I may have seen the stupid egg chicken thing, but I didn't click on it until the 7th time it was recasted by me. But then guess what I did? I went in and I bought some freaking eggs. So there you go. It worked. And I think I've pretty much given back triple what I was paid from that particular person. So there you go. Worked. It worked well. And I hate to encourage that behavior, but damn, it worked well.
We have some features internally that are just, I call them the Boro Dutch or the Goldie features, where they're specifically features that I've had to build for certain people.
That's funny.
That's what we want at this phase. If everyone that we invited into the early access buying group was a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, we wouldn't learn anything. And so I appreciate there are certain people who will find the line and they'll go sit right on the line.
Yep.
And so our job as the referee is to say, where's that line? I don't blame people for sitting on the line. That's the way the system is set up. We have the ability to move that line. And so that's sort of what we're learning is like, okay, what's kosher, what's not, what is certain people have things that they're, more open to than others. And so it's been a really good learning experience.
Yeah, I think that's, that reminds me of, was it Shlomo? Not Shlomo. God, the person who break the casts all the time. It's Shloms. Yeah, Shloms. Who break the cast all the time. It's the same kind of thing. You need those people to push a little bit so that you can figure it out before you make it wide and even bigger. And you have more people breaking things.
Chaotic good energy.
Chaotic good.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know about that, but
you need chaotic neutral.
Good. Definitely
chaotic. You need some chaotic energy.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys know about the chaos monkey?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It was it's like you.
Yeah.
When you're designing any product, you need to throw some chaos in your.
For sure, and it's been funny too because I'll see things and I'm like, oh my god, what I would never think in a million years to do that. Or we'll watch people use a product and it's like, where are you clicking? What are you doing? I've never, and so it's just there's a difference between that sort of nebulous thing that's in your mind and what actually gets built, and so trying to iterate really quickly. The frame standard has been pretty good to work with. There's a little rough edges on the developer experience, but the Warpcast team has been incredibly responsive, especially over the last few weeks. Having Linda come on board has been just such an absolute game changer. And I've worked with Kartik before, and he was our secret weapon at OpenSea because he used to work at OpenSea, and we would have a request, and Kartik would fix it instantly. And so having him on the Warpcast team is such a big level up in a bunch of ways that I'm just
that's Sloke for another name that people might know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good. I think that's something that maybe people don't realize is how it's the people that are here. It's the people that are working on that team. There's so much incredible energy that you can move so much faster on things because of that, because it's not just you doing it. You have these people backing you up. You have these testers that are ready-made, 12,000 people signing up on day one. That's insane. Or week one. You're not going to find that elsewhere where you have this ready-made group of early adopters who are just yep, I'm in. Let me test it out, and I will give you, constructive and solid feedback for what you're doing. So it's
really special.
Well worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think this is playing out really well. Watching you build, you can see all that kind of coming to life.
Yeah, it's been really encouraging. Obviously, anytime you have an idea, you want to have it succeed, and you want to have people do it. And just the fact that our incentives are aligned with helping our users make money is a really energizing thing to be optimizing for. You can sort of optimize for anything in life, and I think that this is something where we immediately see the reward of people getting paid and feeling really good about it. What I will say is if you're registered and you feel you aren't earning, or you're wondering how some people are, I know you shared Meredith's his profile. So why has he earned so much? Well, he set his price to $1 and he has a lot of followers. And so when people sort by price, they see him right at the top. Same with
that's smart.
I'm the dude, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this sort, and we can do a better job of making this visible, but there's sort of like a, you know, if you charge less, you'll make up for it in volume, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're charging $2 or $3 right now, try dropping it to $1 and see if it helps make up in volume. And if you decide, hey, this is too low a barrier, I'd rather charge more and I get paid a fraction of the amount of times when I do get paid, it's a big payout. That's a totally fine decision. There's people that have done that. I think Jesse's price is $100. I think maybe Ted and Johnny Max is like, 50 or 25. And so if they only get paid 1 out of every 25 times, they've made the same amount of money, right? But that's just a barrier where, like, if you're not earning, lower your price to $1, which is the minimum for a recast, see what happens. And then from there, you can sort of,
an experiment from there. Yeah. See if it gets too much, if it gets too little. I just left it at the default and I've been pleasantly surprised. Like I think I'm at like $130 or something over however long, which I was like, wow.
That's where the really small pool of people who are buying too. So
so I'm like, hey, that's way more than I've ever earned on Twitter.
That's right. And as the network grows, and as people realize the audience of Farcaster is so valuable to get the message out to, people with distribution will become an increasingly important part of this ecosystem. There's not a way to pay for advertising content on the Farcaster network. And so if you want to get your message out to a lot of people,
kinda.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, there kind of is. You can become a sponsor of GM Farcaster, but yeah, you're right. There is a nothing direct.
True.
Yeah.
But in the client feed, and just one more point on it because it's a little bit nuanced. The Coinbase team has mentioned that the Farcaster feed is coming to Coinbase, right? It's going to come into the wallet and whatever they're going to call it. And so there isn't just going to be one client. So even if the clients are not really that incentivized to go after an advertising business model because you can't, it's not as valuable to advertise
when it's decentralized, right?
Or Instagram. And so there's going to need to be this sort of network first approach to distribution and advertising that is a really exciting space to be playing in.
And I'm thinking about it also from our perspective, like we really should start using it from, I guess it's the supply side or demand side. I'm not sure. What do you call it? The side of us buying the amps. Yeah. To get more eyes on, to get more eyes to newer users of Farcaster on, hey, we're here. This is a good place to learn about Farcaster. Things like that. So we have, there's some things we'll have to think about, like who makes sense for that and that kind of thing. But yeah, we should be doing more of that.
Yeah, you can pay for recasts, which will obviously get the word out, or you can buy batches of likes, which has the benefit of sending lots of people a notification. And so those people see the notification, they're going to click on it and say, oh, what is this thing that I just liked that I just got paid for? Let me go check it out. And so I don't know what it should cost to send somebody a notification, but right now it costs 50 cents. And so if you think that the return on that investment from getting a new viewer is potentially higher than 50 cents, then that is a place where it makes sense to spend money.
I do think that is the appreciated part of this. Like I said, I got this notification and got a couple times, went in to look at what exactly was I recasting, and then eventually took some action. So there you go.
And if
it works.
And if you know that the algorithmic feed uses things that you engage with to show you more of it, it can make sense as a content creator to have people engaging with your content because then the feed shows them more of it. So
exactly.
There's a nice feed.
So we need to be doing that. We need to get on the other side. On the other side, we can just
there's some interesting There's some interesting gameplay.
Yeah.
Beyond just pay for amplification.
I'm like number 27 on the Warpcast rewards board right now.
Nice.
I've thought about this, believe me.
For sure.
I've been watching. I generally don't care where I am on that.
Me
except when you're close to a different tier.
30.
Then you start to care. Then you start to care. I've been circling around between like 25 and 35 for like the past couple of days, and I'm like, what do we do here? So it's an interesting. It's fun to play around with that too. I think it gamifies it a little bit. So there's things to be done there. But even just taking back what I've earned on amps from recasting other people's, I could just flip that right back around and put it into trying to amplify GM Farcaster. So
totally.
there you
And the game theory is like, if you are going to earn whatever, $100, $50 from Warpcast rewards, it makes sense to spend, up to 49 of it to put back into engagement, because that's still positive EV for you. And so, I don't want to say how many people that are in the top of the Warpcast rewards are using amps, or say that, there's a ton of credit going to it, but it's like a first stage rocket for your cast. It gets you launched out into the algorithm, and then it helps you pick up organic engagement. And so it's sort of, instead of starting with 0 likes, 0 recasts, you can give yourself the best chance of having a cast go trending, which then puts it in front of more people. And so if you think the message that you have is worth spreading, then it can make sense.
If you're currently below me on the Warpcast rewards leaderboard, though, it will not work for you until until tomorrow around 11:05.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, it's not going to work. I'm just want to let you know. But after that, I'm sure it'll work great. But I do think there's a lot of interesting things happening in terms of the Farcaster economy, and like how you can, this one thing can lead into this other thing, can support this other thing. And I think there's, we're going to see a lot more of that experimentation over the next year. That's going to get very interesting. And then when you add, like you said, Coinbase wallet into the mix, like what does that do? And I have no idea. Like that's a whole unknown that we don't know yet. How that's going to amplify things, change things. But I think it's really exciting. It's a great time to be here. So,
Can I just give one more plug for a related product made by a friend of mine, and definitely not my alter ego. Jake has been working on QR. It's QR.Fun.
Are you sure it's not your alter ego? We're positive about that.
Cannot confirm or deny.
I've actually talked to them, and I don't think they sounded like you, unless you were using a voice changer. Anything's possible.
Who knows?
Who knows?
But it is another product that I think is doing something really interesting in terms of attention and distribution. And I've just been paying a close attention to it. I know Jake very well, almost, one would say personally. And when they get their mind on something, they work on it like crazy. And so seeing them shift their attention towards QR and just sort of relentlessly make it their focus in the same way they did with base colors has been really cool to watch. And so I'm really excited about that project. I think we're on day like 14 of the auction or something. 19.
Yeah.
And
I have not been paying close enough attention to this. It kind of comes in and out of my feed, and I'm like, I need to go take a look at this again. But also I loved base colors, and you can see that from my my wallet. I have an insane, like many. So I've loved that whole project, and I really liked the experiment of the Zora versus Clanker experiment too. I thought that was really interesting. But this is pretty cool. So can you tell more about like what is QR? Exactly.
Yeah, I think, Jake could do a better job of this, but essentially it is a token where the image of the token is a QR code that you can scan. And every day there's an auction to change where the QR code points to. And the auction proceeds have historically gone towards buying token and taking it out of the supply. And so it creates this really interesting flywheel where as the market cap grows, the value of that image grows, which means the auction proceeds grow. As the auction proceeds grow, more token gets taken out of the supply, which removes token from distribution, which increases, the market cap, assuming that demand remains constant if you're taking supply out. And so it's this really nice feedback loop that they've developed. And the auction website is a cool riff on nouns. There are some features that I haven't seen on nouns. There's almost like a typing indicator, so you can see when people are making bids. But the best part by far is just Jake's commentary of like being out there in the trenches, like tagging people, hyping people up. It's almost like watching like a sporting event because he's so into it when the auction is ending. He'll tag people, he'll do live commentary, and it's worth bidding on it because during the time where you're the winning bid, even if you don't close, your website is shown, and then you get all your money back. And so you can essentially buy like an ad slot for free, through the feed and through the QR code, the QR coin website.
It's funny that you say you mentioned the nouns connection because there's people who have used the nouns auction in that way via the ENS that they'll use.
Nice.
To send a message like on the bid. There was one point when bidding was really active and it was really high, somebody grabbed an ENS that said something like "Stop bidding, Tony." I forget who was bidding, but I just remember that like .eth. It was like "Stop it," and then they kept changing it. Like each bid, they kept because it kept going back and forth, and they kept changing the
I love
ENS.
it.
It's really funny. So I love that. That's I think that is a really interesting. It's another interesting approach for attention, because that's all marketing is, especially right now. It's just, can you get people's attention, and can you hold it long enough to get your message across, whatever that is. So
yeah,
really
it's
creative.
Really cool idea. It's really innovative. It's one of the few coins that I've seen recently that I think is I don't know, interesting for a bunch of reasons. It doesn't feel like a short-term thing. It feels like the more that it grows, it has a really nice compounding effect and flywheel, which whenever I'm looking, at a meme coin and determining its interest, that's something I look for. Is it a flash in the pan, and is it a game of hot potato? Or is there some flywheel that's going on that's going to
something interesting? Yeah. And sometimes the flash in the pan hot potato is fine. Like sometimes it has a moment, and sometimes it's only meant to have a moment. But I do find the things that have something interesting behind them way more valuable to me personally, even if they don't have as much monetary value. But I'm more likely. And example was today, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier, but Lemon 3, if you go look at Lemon 3 and what it's oh god, no, I've forgotten who's doing that one. It's Brypan, yes. And very interesting, different kind of approach of like, he built something and then was encouraged to launch a meme coin. Like just like, hey, do this so that we can support you, kind of thing. So I think that's another approach to this as well, is like, here's another way we can support a builder who's building something cool that maybe isn't quite ready yet and doesn't know how they're going to sustain it, but basically said, I want to keep building this. I'm really excited. This is new. It's a source program that uses IPFS and Farcaster to allow decentralized file hosting and sharing. And there was a lot of excitement about that. And he said, I could see myself working on this exclusively if I can fund it. So that was, and then he started getting these suggestions for a token, and then the token launched like, a few hours later. So
this is an area
that
where
to me is interesting. Yeah.
I actually think NFTs were a better fundraising mechanism for builders, just because like fair launch meme coins don't actually give the creator enough of the supply. And one of the problems I've had with Zora is like, just as a taxable event, it's horrible. You're receiving rewards in the native token. And so like if you're receiving rewards and the token crashes, you might actually owe more money than you made, which is just a horrible thing in the US. And NFTs are actually a really nice way, because like you earn primary revenue. And so I don't know if you saw this.
And that's what Stefan Sell said right here, is that it kind of missed the NFT days. At least you'd have a collectible to show for it afterwards, and the illiquidity makes the value a bit more subjective. And I think that's hypersub too. You can still do that via hypersub, where you're getting an NFT, you're supporting whatever the project is, the creator, etc. And then you can continue, the creator or the builder can continue to add different benefits to that NFT for that exchange. So there's, I think we have a lot of different mechanisms. I think some of the older ones too, like I kind of miss for various reasons, but I still think there's, different ways to experiment with all this. And it's cool that we're finding, and I appreciate that you're experimenting with different ways to benefit creators and content that's good, and people who are adding value to the network too, which I think that's what Amps is doing.
The pendulum will swing. So
always does. It always does. Anything else that you wanted to highlight before we start to wrap?
No. Thank you to everyone who's registered. I know it was taking a risk, and giving over a signer key is something that we don't take lightly. So we definitely are doing our best to be good stewards. Your network and distribution is the most valuable thing you have on Farcaster. And so we do not take the responsibility lightly. So thanks for everyone who signed up.
And I will say that because it was you, it made it a little easier to take that risk. And I think that's something, there's something to be said for that. Go ahead.
Because why? Because
Farcaster requires proof of work. and he's been
Yes,
working.
and trust. Something about
And
trust
trust.
being the native
Yes,
currency.
Web3.
Of,
Yes, trust is the true Web3 currency. It is.
Exactly.
It always is. You have to build the trust. That's what you're going to benefit on. That is the true currency of Web3. Adrian, do you want to hit Phil with any lightning round questions real quick before we wrap?
Yes. Yeah, you up for it, Phil?
Of course she does.
Okay.
Here we
And
go.
I'm going to do my best just to shut up because I have a habit of turning every question into a conversation because everybody's so
Lightning
interesting.
round, and then 20 minutes later.
Everyone's like so interesting.
your one
Okay,
question.
my first question is the same question we ask everyone, which is we want to know when and how you made your first internet friend.
Xbox Live. I used to play a game. I used to do Forge mode on Halo 3, and there was these custom apps you would make, and I joined an online community called X Forgery, and I became a moderator there. And it was sort of like the things where like nobody knows when you're a dog on the internet, and I was like definitely way too young to be in any sort of position of that. And because I was a username, no one knew. And so that was my first like online community that I was really spending a lot of time on.
Amazing.
What's your favorite channel on Farcaster?
The books channel.
That
What's
was
your
easy.
favorite? Yeah. What's your favorite holiday?
I really like, what's the one at the end of summer? Is that Memorial Day or is that Labor Day?
Labor Day.
Labor
Day. Labor Day is September. Yeah, ending
So
summer.
in Los Angeles, people assume it's warm like Miami all the time, and it's really not. But LA does have the benefit of being warm later in the season, much better than other places. And so I like Labor Day because of the contrast, because when it's getting cold everywhere else in Los Angeles, it's the hottest it's going to be all year. And so that's the best holiday because it's always a beach day. Everywhere else, it's sort of like cold and miserable. And so there's just a lot of like, I look around and I'm like, wow, this is an amazing place to be. And that was for the last 8 years. So first Labor Day in the Bay Area. We'll see if it holds up.
I always love the Labor Day up north too, because it was like the end of summer. It was a little sad, but it was like the last hurrah. So
Got a good tan. It's great.
Yeah.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
Beach or mountain?
I prefer mountains for a bunch of reasons, but I feel just quieter there. Beaches are hard. I love the ocean. I love the sea and sailing, but yeah, mountains are special.
All right. What's the next country you'd like to visit?
I need like a tropical vacation. I know. I've been watching White Lotus, and so like Southeast Asia feels like, I'm feeling the pull.
And there's a lot of people that's like they're having a huge influx of people booking vacations
To Thailand because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Fun. Yeah.
Concert or sporting event?
Man. I prefer concerts. I think that there's something special about seeing music performed live that really, really well. Sporting event is always, you never know what's going to happen. But in a concert, there's like that feeling when your favorite song comes on and you yell every word, or it's like, an amazing beat. And there's something about being able to, predict and prepare for it that makes the moment that much better. Yeah.
Nice. If you were to write a book, what would it be about?
Good question.
It would be like a weird genre mixing thing, sort of like a Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, where it would be like a travel log mixed with a diary combined and interweaved with like some sort of philosophical observations.
I would read. I would read. Would read.
When I have time, I'll do it.
All right, football or soccer?
One of my best friends is getting married this year, and we're doing his bachelor party to go to a Liverpool game, and so I'll say soccer. That's going to be a blast.
Okay.
Thank you. By the way, if you said football, it could also be correct answer.
Correct. Yeah, that was I could have done both.
Kiwi skin on or off?
Next question. I'm not answering. I'm not getting into this debate.
I'm sorry. You will not be invited back if you try to get out of the get out of answering the question.
I personally. Okay, so what I do is I cut it and then I eat it with a spoon.
Scoop
and
it?
I don't eat the skin. So
Okay.
Because you're not a
That's-
psycho. That's
yeah,
fair.
bizarre.
By the way, you
Fair.
came on in the beginning, completely trashed all of Europe as a place that no suitable founder or person can live.
That's right.
And then you won't answer how you eat a kiwi.
I'm a man of principles. I'm sorry.
That's so funny.
All right, last question. What is the last thing you bought with crypto?
Oh man. It was probably something in my feed. It was probably within the last couple of days. I mean, definitely engagement, right? Because I used Amps this morning, and so I mean, self plug, a little bit of a cop
There
out.
you go.
Maybe give one more plug. William Watkins is an amazing generative artist and had a collection on Highlight a few days ago of 50 pieces that are code based, and it's an absolutely amazing collection. And so if you have some money burning a hole in your wallet and you want to go buy an amazing piece of artwork, go check it out on Highlight. Really
cool.
good. Like the first collection I've seen in a while where I was like, wow, this is special.
I got to go spend some time on Highlight and just look and see what's new because I haven't done that in a
They've been cooking
while.
up some cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's getting better every day.
Cool. That's
I just
good to
had a
hear.
random thought. That was the last question, Phil. You're
Okay.
awesome.
Thanks.
I know we're going to wrap up soon. I just had a random thought, and it's completely unformed, so it might be really dumb. But when you guys were talking about how much you love NFTs and art and kind of, and I'm also of the belief that like certain fundamentals, if there's value and use, like they're going to be there in the long term. And I think digital ownership, like something representing a unique piece of digital something is like, there's a use for that in the world. So I'm of that belief. But going back to what you're talking about, tokens, but then meta changes, right?
Yeah.
So like where everyone's attention is. But what did you just say? Something you just triggered something in my head that I had this is like my
We were talking about Highlight.
thought.
We were talking about Highlight.
Yeah,
if that's
but
helpful, and generative
is
art.
there, right? But does I think I've lost my dumb thought. But it was something about like, will NFTs come back as a way without all of the speculation because we have now other mechanisms? Like, so as a founder, like it's super easy. One of the reasons like NFTs took off, right, is because you had platforms like OpenSea, Zora, where it's like anyone could do it. Like you didn't have to write your own contract. It was just here. It's super easy. And that was the vehicle. And there was just so much speculation there. Now you've got the vehicle for creating tokens is so easy. Thank you, Clanker, and all the others, right? So now that it's all out there, right, as the tide goes in, what's left? Does it in the future make it like now you've got both like different options as a creator, founder, whatever? Will there be less speculation in the future of NFTs?
Yeah, let me maybe give you my like thesis for the bull case for NFTs. Just to put it out there. So as an asset class, why did NFT start with artwork? Well, I submit that the reason is because artwork is sort of the only thing that didn't require any sort of tangible tether to the off-chain economy. And so it was natural that it started there first, because if it's going to be some abstract representation of value, it didn't need to tie to a company. It didn't need to tie to a product. It didn't need to tie to some like off-chain commodity. And I actually think NFTs are like a superset of fungible tokens, because with NFTs, you can create as many as you want. You can create 1 trillion, 1 billion, but the fact that it has an extra property means that actually you can sort of put fungible tokens within the category of NFTs. And right now we think about them as these two separate things, but I actually think they're pretty similar. And so like on the extremes, I actually think they come together. And I think we're going to stop making this distinction between non-fungible and fungible. And I think it'll be a gradient where it's like, how much does the non-fungibility matter? Or all the way on one end, there's unique artwork, one of ones. Hey, this is literally, there's nothing else like this token. And then on the other end, there might be extremely fungible, non-fungible tokens where they're essentially the same and people trade them as though they are fungible, but you can actually double click and dig in. And there may be small differences. You can think about dollar bills this way. We treat dollar bills as fungible. I can give you $1, you give me $1 back. Doesn't matter to me. There's a serial code printed on every dollar bill. And so non-fungible tokens can be made fungible at large enough sizes, but you can't go the other way. You can't make a fungible token into a non-fungible token because,
like a purple token, like it's same as like, there's no, my purple is no different than your purple is no different than Prof's purple, but they are
sort
They
of,
have different art, though.
but there is a different token ID. And so like maybe the better
right, like a
example,
serial
maybe,
number.
yeah, maybe the better
benefits
example
are the
is-
same. The benefits are the same at the moment. Yeah.
Right. Or like think about Ether, right? Like if I send ETH to your account and then you send me ETH back, it's not like a Bitcoin where there's a way of saying like, oh, this specific Satoshi is yours and it's mine. It's like Ether, it has an account balance. And so, you know, I think that the value in NFTs is these strong bonds that it creates between the holders in a way that, you know, with fungible tokens, you haven't seen the same individual communities form. You've sort of seen these large conglomerate like hive mind things create, but within NFTs, you sort of get this unique identity. And I just think it's such a primal human instinct that like this spectrum is going to disappear. All this tech talk that we do about ERC20, ERC721 is going to get shoved way down in the stack and only nerds will care about it. And the consumer will basically say like, well, how much does fungibility matter to me? And most of the time, things that are non-fungible can be represented as fungible, but when you double click, you can actually make that distinction. And so that's where I think it's going. I think it's going to take us a while to get there. And we're sort of stuck in this like skeuomorphic, we only have what we know. And so we copy it and we use words like, you know, the floppy disk is the save button. The fact that you put files in folders on your computer, it's like, we're just not good at coming up with new concepts. And so it might take a long time to get there, but I'm super excited about NFTs as a format. And I think that they will succeed when we stop calling them that. That will be the moment where victory achieved. No one uses the word NFT before. And so I'm looking forward to that moment.
I think that so a lot of what you're saying reminded me of why Luca, Nats, and Pudgy Penguins were launching Pengu. It was like, we're still going to have this core. We're still going to have the NFT that's an identifier, that's a community, et cetera. But how do we expand the community when most people can't afford a, you know, $10,000 to whatever $1,000 token? This is how you do it. This is how you give them a little slice of the larger community, is by having the fungible token.
Absolutely.
That still, you know, still connects to the non-fungible, and it might be something down the line that, you know, they aspire to or something like that. So there's like, yes, I can see how these all work together. And then on the back of that, you also have games that are going to use this token. You're going to have products and things and tangible things and you know, penguins and stuff like that. So I'm like, the penguins are over here somewhere. So it's, yeah, like all those things like tie together when they're done well. And then it's just a matter of like waiting for the done well part to actually play out, and it's in progress. So
it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. Not dead. Declaring them not dead. And
not dead at all.
Looking forward to the, you know, sort of Hegelian synthesis that comes from taking these two things and combining them together. So I think it'll happen on Farcaster first. You know,
I think so too. And I think there's also something to collectibles and art in general that people want to hold, not only for speculative value that, oh, this might be worth more someday, but also like for the appreciation of those things. So there are people who collect baseball cards and they like doing that. Is some of that related to, I hope this goes up in value? Sure. But you know, 99.9% of the time, those things aren't going to go up in value. Same thing with Pokemon cards. You're going to play with them, but you're also going to have your special ones that you're going to put in a little thing and admire and keep and hold and do. And it's the same thing with digital. So we still, you know, for me, it's more digital than physical. And if you think about, you know, where we're going, it just makes sense. It just makes sense that that's going to be a thing. Like, I want a punk. I cannot afford a punk. Someday, if I can afford a punk, I will have a punk. Not because I want it to go up in value, but because I want it in my wallet. And I'm mad that I didn't see it in 2017. I don't know why I want it. I just do.
Right.
Because it was first, I think. And I appreciate the art and I appreciate the lore of it all. And there's so many reasons. And when I go to Miami and I see that wall, I'm like, I know those people and those punks that are owned and who they are and what they represent. And that, to me, there's something to that means something to me. It may not be the same for everybody, but for me, that's a thing. And I know there's many other people who are in that same boat. And earlier before that, it was nouns. but I've already got my noun. So now I've moved on. Now I want to get, now I want punks.
On to the next object of desire.
Yeah.
Adrian, how do you feel about punks? What's your feeling around them? Do you have like an emotional state when they get brought up, or
No.
We are different people. We are different people. I also feel like I missed the moment because I found CryptoKitties and never found punks, and then it was too late. So there you go. Yeah, I know it's something different, and I don't.
I get emotional about things, but like some things I'll get emotional about, but not.
But the punks don't do it for you. I want to dig a little bit. Is it because of the aesthetic, or is there like some other aspect to it that?
That's a good question.
I'm just curious. I'm always curious about. It's for you, Adrian.
That's for you.
I'm always curious about what makes some people want to own certain collections or not, or like why it's not interesting. And so maybe it's hard to say why something's not interesting, but.
I think it's just, I probably wasn't around or aware when it launched. So I have no like attachment to a point in time of that had a certain meaning, and,
that's interesting. Yeah. And whereas there's
punks, the people who have punks, I like them. They're cool. But I didn't invest anything into what's behind the project. Why do I need one? Why do I want one? I don't know. I'm busy. Life, there's a million other things I'm looking at every day. Just punks is not.
I think it's the same thing with anything, with cars, bags, handbags. Like I have zero desire to spend any significant money on a handbag. None. Right. There are people who live their whole life for that Birkin.
But $100,000 JPEGs, sign me up.
Yeah, sign me up. I know I'm not. Everyone's got their thing. But also a Fidenza. I want a Fidenza. That's on my list. Of
those two things are
luxury items.
Yeah, it's a luxury item, right? So those two networks of people they overlap a lot. The Fidenza and punk. So it makes sense to me that you sort of have an interest in both of those things, because I think it's I think about the people that are behind it. What's the network that you're joining by buying this token? And if that network is a network that you identify with, then you want to purchase that token. Do you have any interest in fractionalized ownership? Does that do anything for you?
No, I've thought about it, and I've had moments in time where I owned a fractionalized noun for a while, and it has its complications, and it doesn't feel the same. For me, with a punk or a Fidenza or something like that, it would be something that I would want if I could own it myself. I don't necessarily want it so bad that I want to do fractionalized ownership, if that makes sense. And I don't know why that is. It just is. Just I don't know. I don't want to own fractionalized art. There are people who do. But again, I feel like that those who do want to own a fractionalized version of something, most of the time it is for speculative reasons.
Right.
They want to do it as an investment. And for me, it's not necessarily an investment per se. It's because I want to own that thing. I want the art. I want to own the thing. Yeah. Yeah. Not necessarily because I think it's going to go up in value and I want to eventually sell the thing. Right. So it's a little different. But I think for fractionalized ownership, I think that's mostly where people's heads are at when they're doing that. So it gets tricky. But yeah, it is a good question though, because I think there is a market for that, but I think it is more the speculative market for that.
I think there's a human psychological need to own things.
Yep.
And then what you pay for something, how do you value something, right? So there's certain, then there's some scale of utility to status, and one person's status is someone else's not. It's very personal as well.
Yeah.
Although I do appreciate things like Flamingo DAO and that kind of approach, which I thought was, a really interesting way to purchase significant works of art, but there was also some speculation in there as well.
Yeah. So it's like you're involved with an organization that owns the artwork. And so you sort of by proxy, get to be a part of it.
By the way, I now own one of the Flamingo nouns that was owned by Flamingo DAO.
Cool.
That they sold. Yeah. So got a little piece of that.
We've been on for a long time.
I know, we've got to wrap.
So
I could talk
to
Phil forever. This is a problem.
I will be at FarCon. I will see you there. Maybe we can do an in-person session, or I can stop by the booth and say hi to y'all.
Yep.
But
yes,
we'll probably,
We will
by
have
the
a little
way,
podcast space, so we'd love to have you up.
sneak
Yeah.
preview. We are strongly considering hosting a Bright Moments after party for FarCon. So stay tuned. I will let you know if that pans out, but we're working on it.
Cool.
Please
Amazing.
don't make it too
Is
late
Bright-
night though.
Okay,
Is the Bright Moments Gallery still there in New York, or is it?
We're actually
temporary?
supporting a new gallery that just opened there, who's using some of our screens called Tender. It's run by an amazing guy named Adam and a dear friend of mine named Pablo. And so I can post some information, but if you're in New York, definitely go check out Tender Gallery.
I'd love to. Yeah.
We're sort of loaning them some technology and software and stuff like that. So
amazing. All right.
okay, I gotta run.
With that, we can't wait for FarCon 2. So we'll see you there. And thank you, everybody. This has been a blast. And thanks.
Do you want some breaking news? Do you want some breaking Farcaster news?
What did I miss?
What did I miss? Phil go.
Yeah.
So there was a higher airdrop. That
Just
was one
now?
of the 4 while we were on. It was like an hour ago. Someone dropped it. It broke in the one of our chatters.
I was going to say, did anybody say anything in the chat? I wasn't paying attention.
So I'm not sure who it went to, but you'll get a check your notifications and you get a higher airdrop in order to claim, you have to cast something into the higher channel.
Ooh, this is exciting.
So check that out.
Right.
We are, and reminder of we are making some good millionaires.
Yes, we're going to make some good millionaires this week. Yeah.
And ETH is above 2,000. Right.
And ETH is above 2,000. So it's been a good show. Is what we're
news.
Saying. Yeah. And me checking my notifications to see if I got a higher airdrop.
And me laughing at everyone celebrating at ETH at 2,000 is hilarious.
Isn't that hilarious? We've lost our minds.
When you would cry.
By the way, my mother has, I've gotten many yesterday. I had another notification from my mother that, oh, yours is up. I noticed. I said, thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mom, for your market report. Salvino sponsored the higher airdrop. Ah, interesting. Okay, cool. All right, everybody. That is it for us. We will be back Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. And we'll have Dylan Abrusco from Abruscato. I don't know how to say his last name. Dylan from Crypto the Game. The Crypto the Game guy will be stopping by, and we're going to break down the game, the gameplay, and convince him and get him confirmed on camera that he's going to play Cast Out. By the way, I just caught up on Survivor 48, and I'm obsessed. So anyway, Burt Worst, go see if you got an airdrop. We love you too. And that is it, everyone. So we will see you Wednesday. And with that, everybody, bye-bye.